Hey everybody, my name is JD with Fleet here. I'm the client platform engineer and community advocate for Fleet. Today we're doing a quick demo of Fleet. Current version is 4.44 that we're looking at, and today is Monday, February 12th. It's nice and rainy here in beautiful Spokane, Washington, where I'm broadcasting from, but I hope the weather's better wherever you might be watching this video. So we've had introduced some changes with Fleet in the latest version, and I'll try and highlight a few of those, but also give a quick overview of the whole UI for this. I will start off by saying that we really do encourage a GitOps or DevOps workflow behind this. So everything that we do here at Fleet is API first, and then the UI is built upon that API, and that's what we use to call to have any of the functionality in this UI. Is we actually call our own API for that. So with that being said, we really encourage a GitOps workflow. We'll be introducing an example GitOps repo here in the next sprint or two. And for those who are unfamiliar with that, hopefully we can build a demo around that and how to get that set up if you don't already have a GitOps workflow behind what you're doing to manage your endpoints. So this is the main dashboard for Fleet. This is what we're showing here. In the Fleet Premium version, you have the ability to sort devices into teams. One of the features that we've added or will have added by the time you see this video is the ability to add tags to devices so you can further refine applying policies and different scripts and configuration policies or profiles rather to the various devices. So I guess let me back up just a half second and finish the thought. So having teams allows you to apply different policies and different configuration profiles to that group of computers. So that might be your engineers versus your finance department. You might have different sets of configuration policies for those groups. So that's how you might apply that. You might have higher restrictions or alerts and policies built around your finance department because where they're handling money, you want more security versus maybe your marketing department or something like that. So that allows you some differentiation there. And then adding tags allows you to be a little bit more granular with that. So let's say you have a conference room machine inside that work group that you might want different settings on. You can now push those and assign them to a particular tag. And I'll show you how to get to tags here in just a little bit. So with that down, your overview here, we're looking at our workstations. We can see all the hosts, Mac, Windows, Linux, Chromebooks that we have enrolled in this particular team. And we can also see the software that's installed and then the MDM settings applied for this team. We can go out to the all teams here and get a full overview of the entire organization as well. And when we're out in the all teams, you also get this activity log. One of the things we really believe in here is transparency for Fleet. So you can see in here, we can see queries that are being run against endpoints and who's running that. You can actually click on this and see what query this is. And so if you also run a script, any of those scripts are logged here along with the output and the results from that script. So full transparency in everything that's being done on your endpoints or what we would like to call as hosts. Moving on to the host page here, you'll get a full overview of all the hosts in your organization. So we can see we have quite a few in here. One of the other things that we've added recently is now if you have a device that's been added to ABM, Apple Business Manager, but has not actually been unboxed and checked into Fleet, it will still show up here with some details. And as soon as this comes online, it'll populate the rest of the data and enroll that in Fleet's MDM. So this is a relatively new addition to Fleet that's good to point out. If we step into a device, we'll pick Marguerite. It's my machine because it rhymes with Fleet. We can get a nice overview of the device itself. You see details such as public and private IP address, the location. You can see that I actually am in Spokane, Washington, or at least I'm routing my internet traffic to make it look like I'm in Spokane, Washington. Which I kid. But we also get other information like the battery condition. And here you can see other labels that have been applied. And these are the types of labels that we can use for that granular control of what configuration profiles we might want to put on an endpoint. You can also see users that are on the device. This is beneficial, especially on servers where you don't expect users to really change. If a user gets added in here, you might have some sort of vulnerability that you might need to deal with an exposure that way. We also get a full software inventory on the device. IT folks love this because you get to see, all of software that's actually deployed on an endpoint and how often they're using it. So if you have software that's pretty pricey as far as licensing goes, and you have users that aren't using that, you can claw back those licenses and redistribute them to folks that might actually be using them on a more regular basis. And then on the security side, folks love this because we're fully inventorying all the software and version numbers. So if you have vulnerable software, it's going to show up with the vulnerabilities listed here. We're pulling these from the National Vulnerability Database. And so you can see if you have any endpoints or hosts with vulnerable software and reach out through scripting or other means to clean that up and get that out of there as a possible attack vector. One of the other things that we've added recently is also vulnerability exposure on the actual operating system. So Mac OS, Windows. I think we just posted a video that we'll link to here for showing those vulnerabilities, and the changes there is no change. It's built in. We automatically collect that data for you and show it to you here in the UI for that. Other things as we're looking at an endpoint, there are queries that can be set up to run on a scheduled basis. And this is helpful if you're pushing this data into data logger, data lake, or SIM. So like collecting USB devices that are connected to that, this query will run every 4 minutes, and as that data is collected, we'll push it into a SIM for you. And then finally, the last thing here is policies, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on this, but these are the policies that are on an endpoint. And if you click into one of these, this is also something that's visible or could be made visible to the user. And this is all configurable, and we'll show that here in a second, but gives you details about that actual policy and then a possible resolution. So you might have some capability of self-solving from your users for that. Moving on to the controls page here. As this populates out here. So you can see all of the current versions deployed depending on the team that you're on. So if we move to workstations, we'll see that we have some folks that are still hanging out in the 14.2 and 14.3, where 14.3.1 is the latest OS release as of this date. So we have 3 folks that have updated, and you can actually click this little arrow here and actually see that list as a reporting. Same thing for Windows 11 and Windows 10 here. And then as part of this, you can target OS versions for this. So you can set whatever the minimum version is and give folks a deadline for that. On the Mac side, we're using Nudge. So it'll interrupt them with the screen, encouraging them, the screen that you can see over here, encouraging them to update, and eventually it gets annoying. And hopefully they will just do it. On the Windows side, we're using the built-in update experience that's built into Windows and prompted. And essentially, after the grace period and deadline, Windows basically just doesn't care and reboots, which is kind of a handy feature for that. As we move on into other tabs here, these are your OS settings. So this is where you would come in and set mobile config files or XML files on Windows. We have uh, an idea of what we like to call the double check mark. So when you push a policy out, it'll go into a pending state. And then once it's actually like the MDM API call has been made, it'll step into a verifying state. And what we're actually doing here is we're using osquery to verify that that profile has made it to the endpoint. Once it has, it'll move into a verified state. If for some reason it has not, we'll retry one more time and then check again with osquery. And once it has made it down there, great, we move to a verified state. If not, then it'll move to a failed state here. So that's kind of declarative device management without really being the true declarative device management. We're leveraging the power of osquery to make sure that that policy is actually making it down to the endpoint. You can also control the user experience for setup. So this is for the unboxing. As somebody unboxes a new device that's shipped to them, you can control that entire experience. You also have the ability to add a bootstrap package. So if you have your own configuration management tool, Monkey, Chef, Puppet, on the Windows side, it might be Chocolatey for package management. You can push all of that out there on the initial enrollment of a device. This is also a place where you can manage any scripts that you might have stored to run on an endpoint. You would manage that here. Moving on to the software page here. This is a full inventory of all the software here. Let's see if I can successfully search for something like Firefox. And you'll see that we have like the Firefox app, and when there's multiple versions across the organization installed, we'll summarize that here. And if you hover over that, it'll tell you what versions you have installed. We're also going to show you the vulnerabilities. And again, if you hover over that, we'll show you at least the first three, and then the other 424 more you're going to have to dive into for Firefox. Sorry to pick on your Firefox. You have some vulnerabilities in your past. So this is kind of handy, but this is also where you're going to find your OS or operating system vulnerabilities here. So you can see the various versions of OSs in here, and then the vulnerabilities are here. So no extra work has to be done in your part. We're automatically collecting this data on the endpoints as they come in, and then comparing that against the National Vulnerability Database or the Microsoft Security Center for those vulnerabilities on the Windows side. Under queries, this is probably one of the more powerful features, and one of the things that I really love about Fleet is the ability to live query an endpoint, or actually all of your endpoints. Anything that's currently online, you can ask a question and start getting data back or an answer back within 10 to 15 seconds. So if whatever the next log4j might be, you can discover that quickly without having to mash together a whole bunch of different reports from different systems. You know, one from your MDM, maybe one from your vulnerability management platform. You can ask all of those technical questions right here. So it's pretty easy to click on add a query. We have over 300 tables of data available for the various operating systems. So you might step in here and want to look at, let's say, let's look at screen lock and see if screen lock is enabled. So it's pretty easy to come in here and just say, what screen lock? and I can actually run a live query. And so I don't affect everybody in the organization. I'm just going to pick myself, but you can see here, you have the ability to narrow it down by platform, the various teams, labels that you might have, or pick an individual host and run that. And this host is online, so we should get a response here in just a few seconds. And I did not pay the demo gods, so we got no results. But we didn't get any errors, so that's good. So let's try this again. Let's pick a different table here. So we'll pick let's pick file vault here. I just saw that. One of the things I like to point out when I'm showing things like file vault or file vault status or any of these actually is that we give you an example query for a lot of these. And if you have great example queries that you'd like to see featured in here, we are all open source. So all of this is viewable. You can click on the source button here and it'll take you to our actual repo where all of this is managed, and you can actually add to it. So now let's try this and see if that actually works a little bit better for me. And the demo gods are happy with me. And you can see that, yes, Firewall is enabled for two users on this device, which happens to be Fleet Admin and myself. For that. So that's a live query. That's a quick example. This is a very powerful feature that can be extended and you can build a lot of complex queries using joins, which could be a whole webinar all on its own on how to do joins of tables. So maybe a future idea for us for videos here. So moving on to the last page here is policies. And I'm going to jump into an actual team to show off policies here. So these are a very powerful feature. These are all basically SQL queries that result to a true or false. And if they're false, they're failing and therefore failing a policy. And this comes with a lot of power. So first I'll step into one of these and just show you what this looks like. So we have at the top here, this is the information that would be viewable to the user. If so chosen to turn on Fleet Desktop, they would be able to see this. So you can actually put a resolution in here. But this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. The query gets built here. We provide you with a lot of these by default. And with Fleet Premium, we also have all the CIS benchmarks for Mac. There's over 100 for Mac and over 500 for Windows. So we've done the heavy lifting for you and turned this into an easy button. Now, you probably wouldn't want to implement all 600 CIS benchmarks, just the ones that you need for your organization, for your security needs and your requirements along those lines. But what really makes this powerful is the ability to put automation behind that. So we can come in here and turn on policy automations. And now we can either create a ticket when one of these policies that we've selected here fails, or what I really prefer is a webhook. So this allows you to call out to a webhook using an automation platform of your choosing. In this example, we're using Tines. But it could be N8N, which is an open source solution, could be Okta Workflows, could be if this, then that, Zapier, what have you. There's any number of webhooks. You can program your own if you want and script that. But what this does is opens up the capabilities to say, well, maybe we'll use a simple example of maybe Firefox is not up to date, and I want that to be up to date. So maybe I fail that policy on Firefox being up to date. My automation tool calls back into our API to run a script to have our software configuration manager go and run the updates for Firefox. Give that a moment, rerun the policy, see if it's up to date. If it is, great, let's move on with our day. If it's not, then maybe we need to escalate that or retry the configuration manager to get that software updated. So that's a simple example. There's a lot more complicated examples that we can use here, but there's a lot of power behind this automation capability here. And again, calling back into our API to get these tasks done can be very powerful for that. So that's a quick overview of Fleet, and at least the UI. We have a lot of documentation behind all of this on fleetdm.com/docs, and I'll open it up to any questions.
Hi, my name's Drew. I was kind of curious about some of the MDM features. So I saw that we had like the pending enrollment with the Apple Business Manager. I was wondering, can you still run MDM commands on those devices?
So with when you're looking at your hosts here and you have them enrolled in a group or a team, they're going to show up. Oops, I was just on that team. I could have showed you that. Let me get back into the workstations team. So they are already queued in the workstations team. So any configuration profiles for this team will be applied as soon as that device checks in. So the answer to that is yes, absolutely. Once you've added them to a team, they will get assigned all of the configuration profiles, or also known as mobile config files in the Mac world, and the XML files in the Windows world will be assigned to the device.
Awesome, thank you. And out of curiosity, can I see like a certain amount of all the MDM commands that have been run? I should be able to see all of them. Question mark.
So, so absolutely, we'll step back into a device here, and you can see um, let's see, you can see the policies that have been applied, but the MDM settings that have been applied here uh, are all shown here in the OS settings. Um, so these are all of the configuration profiles that have been pushed to this device. And then we've used osquery to verify that those settings are actually on the device.
Thank you so much.
Will
Absolutely.
will running Fleet slow down the device for the people using either just by process of having all of this run or while you're running queries on them? Will the end user notice that?
So for the most part, the end users won't notice that Fleet is running in the background. It checks in about once an hour with a larger collection of data that's pushed to the Fleet server. It does maintain a heartbeat, but it's very minimal. The only time they might notice it is when you're running queries. And you'll notice that we have a performance impact column here on these saved queries. So we will try our best to warn you if a query is going to have a heavy impact on an endpoint before you run it. And ideally, you would want to test that test that query on a small group of computers or hosts before you push that out to your entire organization. But for the most part, these queries don't have a huge impact on your endpoints.
Right.
Other question?
I was just curious in terms of the kind of data that Fleet's able to collect. It looks like it has a lot here. Does Fleet support file carving?
So yes, the short answer is yes, but let's explain what file carving is. File carving is the ability to actually basically copy a file off of an endpoint and stash that in like an S3 bucket somewhere. So this would be the ability to grab, say, a complete log file off of a device if you want to do further investigation into that. Or capture different data points off a device. File carving allows you to basically go in there and kind of carve that out chunk of meat, I guess, but it's a weird term, but that's what it does. It's a little hard to demo here easily, but we do fully support file carving.
Thank you. I believe that's all the questions that I had.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll wrap this up for today. So again, we invite you to fleetdm.com /preview. Will allow you to check out Fleet. You can download Fleet CTL and run our preview environment as part of that. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us in the osquery or MacAdmins Slack communities. Those links can be found on our support page on fleetdm.com/support.
Thank you, JD.
Thank you.
Thank you.